subscribe to this channel. Check out all the things you need in the in the description below. Now for question 1, it's a kind of case study. Now the exam skills would be I would say for every question, don't just refer to your textbook, so we have to take a look, take a look the case, the information given, even though it does not talk about refer to the source, still we would do it. So let's take a look. Question 1a. So 1a, we have to calculate the age 65 in 2017. So we can do it quickly. So we will go to the population fact 2017, and we have Germany 81 million 22%. So you can just put it down. 81 million 22%. Make sure you have the correct unit. Otherwise marks will be deducted. So we will move on to number 2. So what are the measures? So what are the measures for living standard? So this one is quite a textbook sense. Quite a textbook sense. But of course you might grab the answer from the case, right? You might grab the answer from the case. GDP per head. So don't just put down GDP. GDP per head. So just grab the answer. So for grab the answer from the case. So for part A and part B, it's quite straightforward, right? Straightforward at all from the case, very straightforward. So right now we'll move on to 1C. So it's a cause of globalization. So you might just refer to the paragraph. Refer to the paragraph. So you can see that in the paragraph it talks about for Germany is all they are very good at export. Because due to the fall in transportation costs, so they keep exporting luxury cars. So you might just put it here, fall in transportation costs. Again, we will just grab the answer from the case. So this would increase international trade. So you have to add it up. For example, luxury cars exported from Germany. So remember, you have to make use of the case, that it will help you to answer the question. So right now we will move on to part D. Part D, to explain the advantages of increasing in the occupational mobility of labor. So first of all, we have to give the definition. Give the definition. That means they are easily in switching job. So definition is so let me highlight here. So we have to talk about the definition. They can find other jobs easily. First of all, we have to define it. Define it. They can switch job easily. So that means in economic sense, the elastic supply of workers, quick adjustment to changes in market conditions. So so the second thing to do it, number 1, we give definition. Number 2, we have to make it in economic sense. So that is refer to the elasticity of supply of labor. So part D. So why the price will increase, right? Now so I will put it in the right corner. So there are 2 factors affecting the price. Number 1, demand increase, right? Number 2, supply drop. So these 2 will make the increase in price, right? So right now we have to go back. We have to go back to the case to take a look. Why there is an increase in demand? Why there's an increase in demand? Say for example, you can see so the income of the whole population race, right? The income of the whole population race. Then another thing, so there might be decrease in supply. So for example, there's a rise in wages, as you can see here, right? Here there's a rise in wages. So remember that make use of the case. Make use of the information given by the case studies, and then of course apply the economic concepts. Then check out the case, then you can grab all the marks. Part G. So it talks about whether the aging labor force will reduce productivity. So in this answer, you might refer, there are yes answer yes or no. But there is something wrong with this answer. Okay, that is, okay, it does not, okay, refer to the country we talk about. Okay, that is, Germany. Okay, so what do Germany do? Okay, what do Germany do? So you have to go back. You have to go back to this, paragraph to take a look. Okay, so I'll say, what do Germany do? Luxury cars. Okay, so we have to link it up for the luxury cars. Okay, so whether these arguments applies. Okay, arguments apply. Okay, now say for example, the aging population might affect it because say for example here. Okay, so they are less fit, less able to do the manual work for the luxury car. Okay, for the luxury car. So this is the very, very important. Okay, if you omit the country, then you might not get full mark. So right now we will take a look part F. Okay, part F is to analyze the strength of the trade union. So we will go through the years. Okay, from 2013 to 2016. As you can see, right, the membership drops. The membership drop, but the size of the labor force raised a little bit. The unemployment rate drop, and the annual rate raise. So right now, so when you take a look at these, okay, so the annual rate raised, the unemployment rate drop, the size of labor force increase, and there is a drop in the membership. Then I would prefer, okay, so first of all, here, right, so you have to do an overview. Okay, so I would prefer the strength might not be increased, right, because so there are they have less collective bargaining power because okay, with the improvement of working condition, wages, blah blah blah. Okay, so I would say all these are the answers. And I don't like the comments. Okay, so there are other factors. So these things are from the textbook. Okay, so they do not make use of the case. Okay, I don't like it at all. Okay, I would prefer, what I do prefer is this one. Okay, the bargaining power might not be increased. Okay, with the improvement of working condition and the drop of the membership. So for H, so they discuss whether the immigration would increase the budget surplus. Okay, so it depends, right? It depends. So usually, first of all, we have to define it clearly. So the budget include direct tax revenue, okay, government spending, and blah blah blah. Okay, so you have to argue all these. Okay, so it depends on your answer. Okay, so that's all for question 1. Now question 2a, we have to define the term economic growth. It's a very common mistake that students talk about increase in GDP. No, it must be real GDP. Okay, that is measured in output level. Okay, now if you just talk about increase in GDP, that okay, there will be score will be deducted. Okay, remember it's the real GDP. Okay, real GDP. Number 2, part B. So we have to explain. Okay, the possible opportunity cost of export move. Okay, so it's first of all for this kind of question, of course you have to give the definition of opportunity cost, right? So that means it's the highest value option for going blah blah blah. Okay, right now so for more export, okay, that means you can talk about for more export. That means okay, they've moved to export. That means okay, there are less resources. Okay, less resources for others. Okay, less resources for other things. Okay, so this one. Okay, so this is the other things. Okay, or you may talk about the next best alternative. Okay, the return on the next best alternative. That would be the answer for part B. Okay, not that difficult. So right now we'll move on to part C. Okay, so it argues whether a higher government spending, the increase in government expenditure, would increase the economic growth. So first of all, students usually argue AD equal to CIGNX. So the increase in G would brought about the increase in AD. So that's correct. That's correct. Okay, it's a component of GDP, and that's correct. But it does not go to economic growth. Okay, raise in aggregate demand does not equal to economic growth. No. Okay, so we have to talk about the meaning of economic growth. Say for example, increase in output, okay? So these, okay, are the definition, okay, from part A. So you have to refer the definition from part A to do this one, okay? Otherwise, okay, if you just stop it here, if you just stop at the AD, then, okay, the score will be very, very low, okay? So right now we might refer to part A to see, okay, so what are the other definitions for economic growth? Say for example, okay, we can talk about the productivity, okay? So for productivity is another way to measure it, So right now, okay, we can link it up, okay? We can link it up from part A. So we can talk about productivity, we can talk about healthcare infrastructure, okay? If the government spend on these, the productivity will raise, right? Okay? So remember that, okay, for part C, okay, we have to refer to part A. So what are the definitions for economic growth? Then we can use it for part C, okay? Don't just stop at AD, okay? Remember that, okay? You make use of part A, the definition from part A to do part C, okay? That's the skill for this question 2. Now part D asks about whether the government, might reduce employment without increasing inflation. Of course, the first thing I would think about is, okay, so what are the ways? To reduce employment, right? So we have to take a look all the ways, okay, that reduce employment. Then you might, okay, answer the question, okay. So I would like to go through the level 3 answer, okay. So first of all, it talks about the government spends money on training and education, okay. So this is the first way to do it. Way number 1, this is called the supply side policy, okay, supply side policy. So if you make use of the supply side policy, so you might able to do it, okay. So you might be able to do it. So as I said, okay, it depends on, the way the government tackle the inflation, okay. Number two, it depends on whether there are spare capacity, okay. Way number 2, okay. So whether there are spare capacity. So you might, make use of, the spare capacity, okay, without, without raising the inflation. That means so there are unemployed resources, okay. So this one, okay, unemployed resources. So this is the term for economics, okay. So way number 2. So right now we will move on to way number 3, okay. Way number 3 is about, it's about core demand pool inflation. So that means way number 3, there are full capacity. Way number 3. So there's a demand pool inflation, okay. So you might do it, okay. So you might figure out, and also, okay. Number 4, cost push inflation, okay. That means people compete for the workers, okay. This is way number 4. So right now you can see that, as I said again in the beginning of this question, okay. So whether the government can, reduce unemployment without increasing inflation, it depends on the ways to do it, right? So right now, okay, I would like to take a look at the marking guideline on the bottom left corner, okay, bottom left corner. So it depends, right? So first of all, this one, spending on education and training is a kind of supply side policy, okay. If you use this one, okay, it might not raise the inflation, okay. And also, it depends on way number 2. You might make use of the skills, okay, the unemployed resources, okay. So this is way number 2. Okay, for it might not, okay. So first of all, it talks about the close full employment, way number 4. Okay, and this one is the way number 3, okay. So it depends. It all depends on the way the government do. 3A. So what are the differences between land and labor? And as you know, right, these are 2 different, I would say factors of production. So there are 4 factors of production, including land, capital, labor, and entrepreneur. So right now it asks about the differences between the land and the labor. Of course, one is the natural resources, another is the humans. You might talk about the reward, okay? And you might talk about geographical mobility, occupational mobility, and the supply, okay? So there are a lot of differences you might refer, okay? So indeed, it's a kind of typical question, but still, a lot of students, okay, might not be able to tackle it, okay? So there are hints that I would like to give you, okay? So when you talk about the differences between certain factors of production, focus on the reward. Focus on the reward, okay? The reward, okay? The reward is a must, okay? So this one is a, what I mean is a must, okay? So you must score, okay? There must be score for differences in their reward, okay? So this is for 3A. For 3B, the reasons why the demand for product may be, price inelastic, okay? So for this question, indeed, it addressed about the factors affecting elasticity. Factors, so you might refer to your textbook. This include, whether the goods are durable, or, are there any close-up deals, okay? Are there any necessity to use it, okay? So there are a lot, okay? A lot of factors, okay? That, include in your textbook, okay? So usually, for in the exam-oriented way to do it, you try to memorize 2 to 3 factors. So this is a kind of exam approach to do it, okay? So so there are a few that I would like to recommend for you to memorize the factors affecting the elasticity. The first one is the close-up deals. This one, okay, it always appears in the marking guideline, okay? The second one is, okay, it's a necessity, okay? So these two, okay, I do recommend you to memorize it. So right now we'll move on to part C, okay? So we have to analyze, okay? May borrow, okay? May borrow more, okay? So it's about the pattern, okay? The pattern of borrowing, okay? So indeed, of course, the first one, is about the interest rate, right? So this one, it affects the cost of borrowing, okay? The opportunity cost, okay? Now the second one will go to, the demand. Whether they have a demand for loans, okay? Say for example, okay, if the country is very poor, so they might have a demand. So indeed, it's about, the cost and also the demand for loan, okay? So that is it for part C. Question 3D discuss, okay, whether the government should encourage more people to do, okay, do cycling. So for this one, first of all, we have to talk about, okay, what does it mean by cycling in economic sense, okay? In economic sense. So first of all, okay, in economic sense is, of course, okay, it's a kind of merit goods, okay? Merit goods, okay? That means the marginal social benefit is greater than the marginal private benefits, okay? So for candidates, okay, in your essay you have to define, okay, so what are the private benefits of cycling? Okay, of course, okay, they will become more fit, right? Okay, they will become more fit, okay. But for the social benefit, okay, that means, okay, when they become more healthy, so the government might spend less on the health care, okay? The finance will go to something else, okay, like infrastructure, okay? And also, okay, there are other benefits, like, indeed, for the cycling, it serves, as an alternative to, the public transport, right? So, not public transport, also, your private car, right? So, indeed, it might reduce the pollution. So these are all the external benefits. Okay, so you can see that, okay, it's a kind of, merit way, right? Merit goods, okay, for cycling. So, in the marking guideline, okay, it all talks about, the external benefit, okay? The raise in the external benefit, like health, reduce health, okay, or Number 2, the deduction in external costs, okay, like the decline in pollution, okay, blah blah blah, okay. So these are it, okay, these are it, okay. But for against the statement, indeed, is the same argument for these are the exam skill, okay, exam skill. So for against the government intervention, it's the same, okay. So for when we study economy, okay, with economists, okay, so we always argue, okay, no, the government should not do it, okay. So there are drawbacks. There are drawbacks, right? Okay, so what we do, okay, we trust the market, okay, we trust the market. So so the exam skill here, so let me highlight, okay, so this is a kind of exam skill that you have students, when, okay, whether you answer something like, should the government encourage something, in the argument against, okay, you put down the arguments there, okay, no, the market force is the best, okay, blah blah blah, okay, blah blah blah. So right now, okay, so other than that, you can talk about, okay, the wrong decision made by the government, okay. Say for example, okay, the government used the land, to build the cycling parking, okay, the parks and parking. So these land, okay, involve high opportunity costs, okay, blah blah blah. Also, okay, the safety of the cars, blah blah blah, okay. Okay. So and also the opportunity cost, okay, the opportunity cost of using these resources. So indeed, for the argument against, okay, you might, okay, just refer it to previous questions, okay. So it's all the same, okay. Indeed, it's a very typical question about the government should encourage someone to do something good, okay, like sport, okay. So this one is a very typical question, and I do recommend you pick it, okay. I do recommend you pick this question, okay. So this is all for part D. Right now we will move on to question 4, okay. It's about cigarette, okay, smoking. So in this issue, okay, first of all, okay, it talks about, okay, so the qualities, okay, so how, okay, what are the qualities of being a good test, okay. So this one, indeed, we on the right, okay, is from Adam Smith, okay. So you might recall what you have learned, okay, from Adam Smith. So these include convenience, economy, equity, okay, and certainty, etc. So you might just simply refer to your textbook, okay. So you check out, okay, what Adam Smith said, okay. So there are several ways to become a good test. So number two, okay, ask why the government would, okay, tax the somebodies, okay. So you can see, right, okay, so a lot of people, okay, smoke in Egypt, okay. So the first of all, okay, of course, is to discourage consumption, right, okay, because a lot of people smoke, okay, a lot of people smoke, okay. For of course, okay, if you want to do it in economic sense, you can define it, okay. Define, okay, cigarette as a kind of 𝗲𝑚𝑒𝑟𝑖 good, okay, 𝗲𝑚𝑒𝑟𝑖 good, okay. That means they are harmful, okay, harmful, okay, very harmful, okay. Or, okay, you may give a very clear definition, okay. For 𝗲𝑚𝑒𝑟𝑖 good, okay, that means the marginal social cost. Marginal social cost is greater than the marginal private cost, okay. Say for example, okay, there are health problems, okay. The marginal social cost, that means, okay, there are health problems, okay. So this might add the burden, okay. So so let me put it down. So this problem, create a kind of external cost, okay. External cost, okay. Okay. Say for example, it might raise the burden on the medical expenses. So okay, good, okay. So these are what we call external costs, okay. So you might answer this one in economic sense, okay. So of course, other than this kind of answer, okay, there are other answers, okay, that are acceptable. Say for example, in this answer, it talks about, okay, raising revenue, okay, raising revenue. So this answer is applicable to all taxes, okay, to all taxes, okay. So whether government tax something, okay, of course, okay, they might want to increase the revenue, okay. But if you want to address the concern cigarette, okay, cigarette, so you have to answer in economic sense. Okay, that is, okay, it's a kind of demerit good. Okay, the marginal social cost is greater than the marginal private cost. Okay, there are external costs like pollution, okay, or health problem for non-smokers. Okay, so this one, okay, health problem for non-smoker. Okay, so this one, you may say, okay, it's what we call second hand smoke. Second hand smoke. Okay, so you have to you may elaborate further, like the risk of cancer. Okay, so you raise the risk of having cancer for those non-smoker. Okay, so these, okay, so you might want to state very clearly. Okay, so these are all for part B. So right now we'll move on to part C. So part C, we have to analyze, okay, how the central bank would reduce the inflation. Okay, so when it comes to the word bank, okay, so the marking guideline, okay, state very explicitly, okay, the candidate must answer contractionary monetary policy. Okay, so in other words, okay, if a candidate talks about some expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy, okay, no mark, because the question state very clearly that, okay, they would like to ask what a central bank can do. Okay, so it must be the contractionary monetary policy. So right now, so there are several ways to do it. Say for example, increase the rate of interest. So this is number one. Number two, reduce the money supply. Number three, raising exchange rate. So these are three common contractionary monetary policy. Okay, so if you are not very familiar with these policies, okay, you might study it, okay, because it's a very common question in this exam syllabus. The last thing, so there is one answer included in this marking guideline is about lowering the interest rate. This one I do not recommend. So don't answer in this way. Okay, okay, because it's very risky. Okay, it's very risky to do it. Okay, so usually, okay, because it's not a kind of contractionary monetary policy. Okay, it's an expansionary one. Okay, we won't do it in a normal way. So usually we will just argue to raise the interest rate. Okay, to reduce borrowing, to reduce consumer expenditure, to reduce the AD, and this can address demand pull inflation. Okay, so there are other things that I want to talk about. When we talk about to target inflation, okay, there are two sets: demand pull inflation and cost pull inflation. Okay, so usually we would do it in this way. Okay, demand pull and cost pull. Okay, so make use of contractionary monetary policy can deal with both demand pull and cost pull inflation. Let me mark it down on the right top corner. So there are two kinds of inflation. The first one we call it a demand pull inflation. So what you can do, okay, is to deal with the AD, the aggregate demand. Okay. So the second one we call it cost push. Okay, the cost push. Okay. So what you can do with this one, okay, we may refer to the marking guideline like raising exchange rate. So this might reduce the price of import. It helps to lower the cost push inflation. So in this question, it assess the ability of the students, okay, whether they can make use of the contractionary monetary policy to tackle both demand pull and cost pull inflation. The question 40 argues whether the increase in subsidies would reduce a deficit. Okay, so first of all, okay, we have to take a look what is the meaning of deficit, in the sense that, okay, so let's take a look. So usually we would say a deficit would be about the export is less than the import in a very, very simple sense. Okay, is not okay in this. Okay, other than export and import, okay, there are other stuff included in the current account. Okay, so when I put there export is less than import, in this sense, okay, is for examination IGCSE level only. Okay, it's not the correct definition. Okay, because okay, why would I said this is an examination approach? Because as you can see in the marking guideline, okay, in the marking guideline, okay, it all concerns export and import after all. Okay, so I would say so here, okay, here in an exam sense, okay, so we would just say it, okay, it's all about export and import. Okay, so okay, so let's move on. Okay, so what we're going to do to reduce the deficit, okay, there are two ways. Number one is to raise the export, right? Okay, because right now export is less than import. Okay, so number one is to raise the export. Okay, number two is to reduce the import. Okay, reduce the import. Okay, so either way, or you may combine them both. Okay, will help you will help the country to reduce the current account deficit. Okay, so we might take a look the answer, okay, in the right hand side. First of all, it argues that it might, okay, you know, make your products, okay, more competitive. Okay, so if the government give money to the local producers, okay, they might lower the price. Okay, so they might lower price. Okay, so this would you know, here might raise the import. Okay, it might raise the import. So it's about the price, about the quality. Okay, number two, it might also, okay, make the local citizens, okay, rely the import, okay, into a small extent. Okay, so this also makes, okay, the drop in import, and this helps to reduce the current account deficit. Okay, but of course, okay, when you do it, okay, when you do part the evaluation question, okay, so indeed, so there might not, okay, say for example, okay, they use, okay, say for example, what would they do? Okay, they use the subsidy to import. Okay, so right now they use the subsidy to import, then this will make the raise in import. Okay, this will make a raise in import, so that does not help. Okay, this might further worsen the current account. Okay, so you, okay, in part D, okay, you must give evaluation. Okay, you must give evaluation in order to score a higher mark. Okay, so remember that, okay, in this type of question regarding current account deficit, okay, so we always go to export and import. So what a candidate should do, they should argue the policy, okay, the increase in government subsidies, okay, how would it affect export and import? Okay, so there are some terms I would like to highlight. Okay, this helps you, you know, to do it. Okay, to do this question. Say for example, you might consider the cost of production, the price and the competitiveness, the price and competitiveness. Okay, the effectiveness of encouragement. Okay, the effectiveness of encouragement. Okay, this one that means, okay, even though the government give us subsidies, okay, the, you know, the firm may not adjust the price, okay, or may not adjust their, you know, production method. Also, the reaction of other countries, okay, the reaction of other countries, the reaction, okay, to the demand, okay, demand for import, okay, demand for import, the reaction of the producers. Okay, so here in the last few points, okay, you have to consider the other, okay, sorry, you have to consider the other stakeholder. Okay, so rather than, you know, the producer, there are other stakeholders like, you know, other countries, and also, you know, the consumers. Okay, so these, okay, so these two, okay, so it goes to, you know, for those high achievers, okay, they might answer these. Okay, so other than export and import, okay, there are other stakeholders affected. Okay, so they might have, you know, different ways to react. Say for example, you know, other countries, okay, they will give, okay, subsidies to their producers. Okay, so to retaliate. Okay, so these are all the answers for part D. Now question 5. So it talks about the mixed economic system adopted by Sweden. in part A we have to define it. Okay, so the definition 2 marks. Of course, 1 marks go to public and government. Another marks go to the market mechanism. Okay, another marks go to the market mechanism, or we call it private. Okay, so 1 mark for the government, 1 mark for the private or market mechanism. So let's take a look part B. Okay, so part B. So part B, it talks about the PBC, the production possibility curve. Okay, so it talks about the student operate inside. Okay, inside the PBC. Okay, so we might draw the PBC. Okay, if you recall. Okay, so this one is good y, good x. Okay, 0. Okay, so if you stay inside, okay, that means you might increase the production of good x without sacrificing good y, or you might increase the production of good y without sacrificing good x. Okay, in other words, okay, you are not, this country is not operating at the optimum point. Okay, it's not the optimum point. Okay, it's not efficient. Okay, so so you might take a look at the answer. Okay, it talks about it's inefficient use of resources. Okay, because it's below the potential output. So there are there might be unemployed resources. Okay, there might be unemployed resources. So this counts for 2 marks. Okay. So on the other hand, what is the meaning of outside? Okay, what's the meaning of outside PBC? Okay, that means there's a point that cannot be attained. Okay, unless there is a technological advancement. Okay, so so you might take a look at the answer. Okay, so we call it potential one. Okay, well, outside the PBC we call it potential. Okay, so it can only be achieved with better quality. Okay, or future economic growth, like what I said. Okay, so I'm add 1. Okay, or you call it okay. So other than technological growth or economic growth. Okay, sorry. So in this answer is missing, right? Technological growth. Okay, with technological growth you might also achieve the point outside the PPC. Okay, so that's for part B. Okay, so C. Okay, so what actor would decide to become a teacher? Okay, so indeed it concerns the topic we call it opportunity cost. Okay, so there are 2 choices. Okay, actor or teacher. Okay, so being an actor, the cost is of course the benefit. Okay, of being a teacher. Okay, the benefits. Okay, so indeed in the marketing guideline. Okay, so it talks about all the benefits, including wages, job security, working hours, working conditions, right? Okay, job satisfaction. So all these is about the benefit of being a teacher, including money, wages, and non-monetary. So candidates, for those candidates who would achieve full mark, they must assess both monetary cost and number 2, non-monetary cost. Okay, that's the way to achieve full mark. For part D, we have to discuss whether the monopolies they always have a low cost of production. Now let's take a look the example of level 3 answer. Now before we answer the question, we must give the definition of monopoly. Okay, so that is so so they have domination in the market. Okay, and also they supply 100% of the market. Okay, and there are no close. Okay, I would like to highlight this one. Okay, there might be substitutes. Okay, but not close one. Okay, there might be not a close one. Say for example, for electricity, battery would be an alternative, but of course it's not a close substitute. Okay, so we will first of all give a definition, and then number 2, and then we have to explain. Okay, so don't go for discussion yet. Okay, we have to explain. Okay, why in the textbook sense we usually say that the monopoly would have a very low cost of production. Okay, so we have to refer back to your textbook. Okay, refer back to your textbook. So in our textbook, okay, we have always discussed that they might not have a low cost of production. Okay, say for example, okay, there are inefficiency. Okay, inefficiency, and also okay, there might be competition. Okay, competition, and also is quality. Okay, so these okay in the textbook okay it tells us okay they do not always have a very low cost of production. Okay, and then okay, so right now we are going to further elaborate. Okay, further elaborate. So let's go to take a look at the yellow color. Okay, so we're going to explain further. Okay, about the inefficiencies. Okay, say for example, okay, we will bring up the concept of diseconomies of scale. Okay, diseconomies of scale. So this one concerns the long run average cost. Okay, would increase. Okay, so okay, in in the topic of production. Okay, we've discussed it. Okay, so for the this economy of scale, okay, that means okay the company okay when they grow okay they cannot make use of the resources efficiently. Okay, so this leads to the rise of the average cost okay in the long run. So other than that okay we can give other scenarios. Okay, say for example okay this one you can refer to your textbook. Okay, so this one okay government intervention. Okay, government intervention. So we always okay talk about in the basic sense. Okay, in the basic world okay the monopolies may enjoy a low cost of production okay without the government intervention, but indeed okay so in the real world setting the government always always okay usually okay they would interfere. Okay, like Microsoft. Okay, the US government okay they always interfere. Okay, so they will implement regulations okay that okay increase the cost of production. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so these are I would say how you answer the way that they may not. Okay, so is against the statement. On the other hand, okay, if you argue, okay, the monopolies, okay, the reason behind okay, why they have, low cost of production, okay, so you may simply read this one, okay, for the statement. I will give you a field example. So what you can do, you can elaborate the economic scale, okay, give examples of economics of scale. Say for example, advertising cost. I'll mark it number one. Okay, number one, advertising cost can be spread over a large amount of numbers. Number two, the banking. Okay, so this one is the financial economics of scale. You must mention the reason behind. Say for example, you have more collaterals. Okay, you have more collaterals. Number three, bulk purchase. Okay, purchasing. Okay, purchasing economics of scale. Okay, purchasing economics of scale. All these. Okay, number one about the advertising cost spreading. Number two about the financial economics of scale. Number three, purchasing economics of scale. Okay, all these we call it internal economic scale. Okay, internal one. Okay, so there are of course there are other examples that you might give. Okay, in your textbook you may refer to textbook. Okay? Say for example, the cost in research and development. Okay, R&D stand for research and development. Right now I would like to go back to the marking guidelines. Now usually students would go to to discuss the economics of scale. Okay, so whether the company enjoy economics of scale or not. Okay, so this one I would say number one. Okay, so it's a very common way to discuss it. Okay, so for high ability achievers, okay, they might discuss it with other perspectives or angles. Okay, say for example, it's about the government. Okay, so whether the government is involved. Okay, whether the government is involved. Okay, So you might put it down, okay? So whether the government is involved. Say for example, if the government is involved in, printing money, okay? In printing money, then you might not enjoy, okay? So, so if the government adopt an expansionary monetary policy, okay, then you might not enjoy it, okay? So, so these are all the way that you answer this question, okay? Remember that, okay, other than economies of scale, this economies of scale, okay, there are other perspectives that you may do, okay? Say, for example, the government intervention.